It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Ho Ho Oh, our Project Potter holiday special, guys. My name is Kyle, your host. Welcome to night 12, guys. We're doing 25 straight nights of Christmas movie reviews. Guys, tonight we are reviewing Klaus, the 2019 animated film. And I haven't seen this before, guys. This is my first time, but if you haven't been to the channel before, what we're doing is going through my favorite scenes or thoughts on the movie, my favorite character, a least favorite character, a score out of 10, and of course the Ho Oh Oh rankings so far, guys, through what will now be 12 nights. Appreciate you guys stopping by. Go check out the other content. Here we go. So, guys, this is an animated movie. The animation, let me say, guys, is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. It took me a little bit to kind of adjust to it. It kind of reminds me of a mix of like Samurai Jack, which, guys, I love. Go check out Gotta Get Back. Self-plug there for the Samurai Jack review. Like an Emperor's New Groove, but it was weird. The postman at the beginning, especially, looked exactly like Emperor's New Groove knockoff between like the animations and just the way he's acting and everything. And he's like a little pompous at the beginning. So I'm sure they got inspiration from that. And this almost feels like a knockoff in some ways to that, but kind of missing a little bit of the magic that the Emperor's New Groove has, which is like one of the best Disney movies of all time. But this, for a long time, guys, I was like, is this a Christmas movie? I was Googling, before I started the series, like, best Christmas movies, and this was like pretty high on the top of the list. And like halfway through, dude, I'm like, okay, he gets to the snowy village of Skizenberg or something. And I'm like, okay, but there's not really like any Christmas wreaths. And I'm like, okay, he'll probably come around to it, but it's a different take on Christmas. And obviously, Klaus, not the fish from American Dad, though I did keep thinking of that. He's kind of away. We find out this tragic story about how he had a daughter who got sick. So he used to make all these toys, and then his daughter got sick and passed away, and so he like got lost and mentally, and then stopped making toys and kind of secluded himself, which is sad, but again, a different take there. This is more of an adult take on it. But there are pieces in this movie, guys, that are holding it back from being something great, I think. And that's the fact that they're like, oh, the kids are getting along, they're getting toys, and they don't care. That it's kind of like a Romeo and Juliet type of deal where there's two sides of the family, or two sets of clan or tribes or whatever, and they just don't get along. And the kids playing with the frog that Klaus first delivers, that beautiful scene where they like go over to the window and Klaus is looking through it. It's like, again, some of the shots here, this movie has some beautiful, beautiful shots. But Klaus is looking in there, and he's like, the joy is like kind of brought back to him because the kid plays with the frog, and the animation is really beautiful when it's like jumping around and stuff. And I'm just like, the art style is very good. The kids playing, and then like the girl from the other tribe or the other group of people comes over, and then like they're playing together, and then the parents are like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" And then the kid gets in trouble, and they're like, "I can't believe he's doing this." And they bring him on this whole mural, and there's like this back and forth where they say, "We hate them because they hate us, and we've fought each other for so long." And I'm like, kind of a dumb reason, they're just like, oh, well, we've always fought each other, so we just keep fighting each other. The kid is like, but why though? Villains of this movie are just the adults, the stupid adults. And, there's no education there because, there's an old teacher that went there and she's like cutting fish. And then she's like, well, they don't want to send their kids to school because all they do is fight. And so all the kids are uneducated, but then, the postman comes in and he is like, "Oh, I could mail the letter back to you," and we get that scene where he meets like the dad, and he's just got his two like guard dogs, and the art again, the animation is very cool. There's elements of a really really special story there, but the execution and then some of the ways that it came together or didn't come together, really, like I said, holding it back from really what I think would have been a really special movie. There's this whole present decoy at the end, which was clever, but as long as there's no toys in this town, she's like, this town was built on hatred and it's going to continue to be built on hatred. And I'm like, what? And then the postman's like, dude, well, your son and your daughter, they're basically like in love now because he saved her life. And she's like, mine? And so like this girl only knows the word mine, which is like, dude, the rest of the people can talk normally and this girl only knows mine. I don't know. It's kind of like, oh, well, look, the love brought them together. But this lady who's like, she kind of reminds me of the woman from Emperor's New Groove, the tall lady, Kronk, next to Kronk. Anyway, Emperor's New Groove, much better movie. She is like, oh yeah, there's never going to be any fun, and the toys are gone, and like the decoy toys are like on the edge of the cliff, and they don't tell what's his name. They don't tell the postman about the decoy toys, so he almost loses his life over the cliff over decoy toys. And she cuts the bag open, and she's like, "Ha ha!" And then they go away, and then they're like, "Oh, actually, let's just go deliver the real presents." And I'm like, "Okay," but then the next day they would have been pissed and been like, "Dude, you can't have presents. We need to fight each other." It's just weird. And so again, guys, there's some really gorgeous shots, and I was like blown away at a lot of the scenes, but it really is missing like that meat, and it's missing like the reasons. I mean, at the end, Klaus just kind of walks away, and it's like beautiful, but he doesn't like leave a note for the postman, and so the postman spends like years and years, like decades, with Klaus, and then at the end, he's even like, "Oh, what's that on your face?" He's like, "Oh, you don't like the mustache?" And he doesn't tell him. He doesn't. I don't understand why he wouldn't have left a note and said like, it's I've loved, thank you for bringing the joy back to me. I've loved working with you. It's time for me to go or whatever. But instead, he puts the postman on this journey where he travels all across. He's like, "Where the fuck is Klaus, dude?" And then it's like, oh, he just disappeared to be with his daughter. And it's like, it's beautiful. And that's why like the wind was picking up, and he built all the birdhouses because she loved birdhouses. And that's really, really sweet and sad. But like he doesn't tell the postman. He doesn't leave, like he's like, "Oh yeah, there's no explanation or anything." He's like, "I looked everywhere." Went on this huge chase, and then like there's the thing at the end where like his spirit like comes in on Christmas. So like the postman is now like the new Santa, I think. But it was just weird. If he left a letter for just the postman and just the postman knew, then he could have like made up a story like, "Oh yeah, he's out delivering toys to all the other kids in the world or whatever." But instead, he's just like, "Yeah, I don't know what the fuck happened to Klaus. He just didn't show up one day, never found a corpse, never found a body, don't know what happened." And it's just, the ending was kind of weird. The reasons for conflict was a little too like basic. And it's like, okay, dude, these are adults that can think, and I know they're not educated, but like that's not an excuse for poor writing. And so some little things that really held it back for me. But overall, I did enjoy my time. There were some beautiful moments, like when they build that little girl, the girl who's like, she came from like a close town or something, doesn't speak like any English, and she's like all colorful, and because she's like, dressing differently and everything. I'm like, "Oh, she's not from here. She doesn't have a letter, and she doesn't understand them." But the postman like eventually builds this thing for her, and there's that beautiful scene where she's going around and she's so happy, and then she grows up later. It's cute, and I did enjoy my time, but I wish it was a little bit better. Okay, guys, my favorite character, it's got to be Klaus, man. His design is so cool, and even Postman's like, "You're disproportionately," and he's like, "You know what? Never mind." And he's like, got that classic like, "Oh, is he a big villain?" And the Postman thinks he's gonna like, hang him in the beginning, where he's like just building a little rope for the birdhouse he throws up there. But he's like, "Okay, I guess it's time," and he like Postman like puts his neck around him. He like thinks that the Klaus is just like an axe murderer, and he's just a guy who, is chopping wood because he keeps making the birdhouses because he's deeply depressed. He finally gets that release at the end. It's just leave a note for the postman, dude, or find some way to communicate. It was so weird to me that the postman didn't know, but Klaus was great. And, it was kind of weird to me that like they got mad at the postman because his dad comes at the end. And I guess they sent like a bunch of letters, or they reported the letters to the postman's dad. And then he's like, "Ah, son, guess you got to come home now." Then I guess on the boat he told him like, "Actually, I really like it here." And I don't know why he didn't just say that in front of everyone, but he's like, "Okay, I guess I gotta get on the boat." And then it's like a cute scene where that little girl is like, she goes down and she sees the boat go away and she's crying, the one that's not from the town. And then he's like, "Oh, I guess I missed the boat." And that was cute, but like you should have told the rest of the town, like, "No, I've grown like a community here. I don't want to go. I want to stay here." And then they would have been like, "Oh, he really like, he likes us." And Klaus would have been like, "Oh, great." But instead everyone hates him temporarily, and then they don't let him in on the planet. So there's little things, guys, but they really add up, and they kind of like separate the plot. They create a rift in the plot, and it's not great. But Klaus was awesome. His story is pretty tragic, but like, he gets his piece at the end. And he was just, I love when he like he finds him, postman finds him because he's like trying to deliver these letters, and he's like, "There's one guy that's up there," and he's like, "Okay," and then he finds Klaus, and he thinks he's scary, and he's like this gentle giant, and then finds out about his past. And I love how he's like throwing him on the chimneys, and he's delivering on the presents, and then Klaus is getting credit for everything, and they're like, "Have you seen Klaus? He doesn't even know. He comes in when we're sleeping," and it's like the postman doing all of it. So he's like, "The Klaus," he's like, he just want to be like, "It's me, dude." So that was cool. But Yeah, Klaus's design is awesome, and he was a really great character. Just again, his ending kind of ruined it for me. But yeah, my favorite character in this one. Okay, guys, my least favorite character, it's got to be basically the townsfolk that are like, we gotta keep fighting no matter what. And I'm like, really dumb. They're like, it's tradition, and I don't understand why no one else questioned like, hey, I know it was tradition to fight, but why do we still do that? I don't have anything against those people. There wasn't like this moment, and again, I know they're uneducated, but that's not a reason that you can just make them fight like, oh well, they don't know anything different. Or like they should have explored that a little bit more, being like, all we know is fighting, that's why we fight. And no one sat there and said, well, why do you fight that person? Because they would have said, I don't know. And then they would have said, like, oh well, you and you both like this little frog or this little car, don't you? And they would go, yeah, I guess so. And then it's like, oh, maybe we're not so different. But like they didn't do that. They were just like, we fight because we dumb. And it's like, I don't know, man. But yeah, that whole group that wanted to just keep fighting, man. I'll put the name of them in here. My least favorite characters, and just kind of took the movie down a big notch for me. Okay, guys, that brings us to the score. I did enjoy my time with this. I know I've been a little critical on this review. I've enjoyed my time. The animation was beautiful. Some shots were okay looking, and some were like breathtaking. But for the most part, it was really, really beautiful. And there were some scenes in particular that I was like, wow, this looks so incredible. The story just really is what like kind of drags us down for me. It's a 7-1. It's not a terrible movie. It's I think worth a watch, but it just I think I'm like disappointed in this one because it's like it could have been so much more, you know. It's a weird kind of a weird start with the postman because like the kid is like, not necessarily lazy, but he's kind of full of himself, and like the dad's like he needs to be taught a lesson, and he's basically gonna like send him there, and like he's like sending him out to fail. So also like bad on the dad there. But then he like is resourceful and like, makes it work. And that's why he says, I'm so proud of you. So the dad does redeem himself at the end, but it's just like I wish there was a better resolution to the town like hating each other, and then like the kids are learning, so the kids are getting educated, so it'll be better. But like it's like this older generation that's just like, well, we have to fight no matter what, and it's just like, and then the Klaus thing at the end where again, Klaus going off and like basically pulling a Luke Skywalker and just force evaporating out. Pretty cool move. Just leave a secret note or something for the postman, and then or just be like, don't share this with anyone else, or don't let anyone know. But then the postman would know. It's weird that the postman didn't know because they got so close. So that kind of ruins it for me. And then just like the very basic nature of like, again, not to repeat myself, guys, but like we fight because we have to fight. And it's just like, I don't know, brought it down from being a really special movie. Okay, guys, that brings us to the Ho Ho O rankings. And guys, through 12 movies, this one is going to slot in at number 9. So recapping the list here, guys. Number 1, we have Spirited, surprisingly, at a 10 out of 10. Great movie. Go watch my review on that one, guys. Number 2, we have Home Alone at a 9.9. Number 3, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, 9.8. Number 4, we have Bad Santa at a 9.7. Number 5, The Night Before at an 8.6. Number 6, Just Friends at an 8.3. Number 7, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the 2000 movie with Jim Carrey, an 8.2. Number 8, A Muppet Christmas Carol, a 7.4. And then this one, guy, slots in Nick Klaus at number 9. The new number 10 we have is Polar Express at a 6.1. Then number 11, A Charlie Brown Christmas at a 5.7. And then number 12, guys, A Christmas Story, which I can guarantee you right now. Well, I don't want to guarantee because there's a couple I haven't seen. There's a couple movies I haven't seen in the rest of the list here, but guys, in all likelihood, Christmas Story will not be moving from that bottom slot. But anything is possible, I guess. But that's how our rankings shape up, guys, through 12 nights of Christmas. All right, guys, that's another episode of Ho Ho Oh. Thanks for checking out the channel. Like, comment, subscribe, guys. Did you enjoy this? Do you disagree? Do you agree? Let me know. I think this movie is still worth a watch. For the animation alone, it's really beautiful. It's on Netflix now, guys. So if you have Netflix, go check that out. But just don't expect a masterpiece. And I think it was getting really good reviews. I think on Rotten Tomatoes and stuff, it was really high. And so not that that's the end all be all, but I didn't think it was everything was chalked up to be, but I had a good time. It was a fun hour and a half. I didn't check the time. I kind of got lost in the world a little bit. Just wish it's just like what could have been is for me. But anyway, guys, appreciate you stopping by. Like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, guys, peace.